What's up guys, this is Sean and today we are in Sky Awani to actually talk a little bit about like the mindset of buying own stay versus an investment because lately there's a lot of comments as well as the emails that I'm receiving, right? So thank you very much for those who shared. As we all know, there's like buying from developers straight and there's buying sub-sales. The difference is always at the certainty part because like what's the furnishing level for the common areas, what's the swimming pool tiles like, the gym room, what equipment's going to be inside, because all these kind of grey areas are not written in an SPA and there's no black and white. Even if they give you pictures, right, not necessarily it's the case, and consumers unfortunately have no ground to stand against developers when it comes to dispute. So that's a very sad thing. But now when you have a lot of unsold units for newly completed projects, right, this is the period, this few years, right, where we will have a lot of completed unsold units, which allows us to have a few benefits. By going through and completed unsold unit, which means that the building it's ready built, it's ready for occupant, just that it has yet to be sold by the developer to a particular owner. So you have the benefit of both sub-sales and new unit lah. The first benefit is to really tell what is the orientation of the building and what is the common areas of the building and the exact layout you're going to get, because not many people understand mirror image. Sometimes it's like A1, B, B2 for the layout. It usually means mirror, but not everybody understands drawings. This is the lift area. You can actually tell the floor furnitures, the depth, right? Then the speed of the lift, then the ceiling height, then the exact furnishings for the refuse chamber. Right? Is it tiled up? Is it spacious enough for ventilation or not? Is it bright or not? All these kind of questions. One of the pain points is also when people buy, right? They look at the map and the map is drawn by the person who's trying to sell you the product. Hence, they will hide off a lot of things. In this case, usually they will not show you the TNB pylons. And something about TNB pylons, right? Because the land does not belong to anybody. Yes, it belongs to TNB, but it's open for rental or lease. And so sometimes you have some kebun or some farmers action going on right there. Then in this particular area, because it's right outside the city at the fringe, so it's a very good position for storage. So you can see that the warehouse there for material storage, then you have vehicle storage. But usually the developers will sell you the park. Then again, in their map, usually they'll tell you, oh, KLCC is just around the corner, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But you gotta know all this as well. All the social housings are here, and if there's empty land, what's gonna happen? You look at all the factories right there. Does all this thing mean that is not good? Not exactly, because if there's a MRT within walking distance, this property price would have changed. If you have a pylon, this property would have changed. So if you are okay at this price, but the only compromise is you need to be next to a pylon a little bit. Yeah, so it's always making an informed decision and taking calculated risks. And buying a completed unsold unit allows you to do that. Then another thing, it's ceiling height and the condition of the corridor. The corridor to me is quite an important space because it's the only in and out from your unit lah. Hence, if it's dark and it's unpleasant, right? Yeah, so generally when I were to buy a home, this kind of feeling matters. If I feel not comfortable, I gotta know why. If not, then it's most likely not a good deal lah. Get it? And as always, after mentioning like, okay, there's 10 units per floor sharing 3 lifts, right? What does that mean? That means the average waiting time you need for a lift lah. So sometimes when we all go out together in the morning for work, right, how long do we need to wait? And if you're in the lower floor, you will have a full car when it reaches your level, and that's also something to consider about as well. So now I am at the facility deck, and again, based on brochures, right, because marketings for apartments generally, it's really about the facility deck. If not, the unit layout all the same. This is where you can gauge like the furnishing. Like, does it look really like their renderings on their brochures? Like the chairs, the bangku, the landscape treatments, the hardscape, the swimming pool tiles. So this is where I learned from Penang. The facility deck and the common areas is where the developers can show their sincerity, because it's not promised, because it's not tied to any agreements. It just needs to look very similar to the picture that they promote. When the project, right, sometimes they overrun on cost or things like that, or something happen, sales cannot move, right? How do developers come back from the situation is they will discount on the materials. Instead of stone furnitures, they will then use tiles, or they will look for alternatives, and this is what they call like cost engineering. I want to look exactly the same, but I want to pay half of it. Yeah, then we completed unsold units, right? You get to really gauge the location. Like we mentioned just now from the back, so this is the front. Are you okay with this? They can tell you that it's temporary, hence we did not put into the brochures. When they do rendering, most likely they're not going to render this. So when you buy as a home, there's a lot of possibility that these will be developed as well. If this property, like Sky Awani 2, really does sell well, someone will figure out how to buy this land and build it immediately. One thing I also like to gauge is the traffic condition. Right? I know this is a small road, but I can already see cars often parked outside. So are those cars from these areas or from the surrounding, right? So that's also one of the questions. And if you can see, there's businesses ongoing, you have trucks all the time, buses, a lot of heavy. But again, that's the park, that's the hill. The main question is, are you okay with this? This is also where I will run the weekday weekend test. If this is your home, try driving around. So I'm sure that you pretty much leave to come and see the property, or you are seeing it on the weekend. So don't gauge anything based on the weekend's crowd only. Maybe I'll just take a half a day leave, right? Just to experience the traffic here. What is it like to travel to work from the new place that I'm going to buy in? Like the traffic, yes, they say sometimes it's like 100 meters only to this or 300 meters only to this, but it's not so much about the distance sometimes. It's really about the traffic jam. It can be very close but jam. How? Big tank. Then on the weekends, yes, you have the park right there, but it's not walking distance. So I will still need to fetch my kid over. Can he cycle over? Where would he go to school? Where will he do our grocery shopping? Will there be mud rampits around the streets here? I don't know. And if you are buying for investment, right, this is where you can really gauge how's the project around selling, right? And I will check like the rental rates. So let's say if the rental rate is 2005, let's say lah, I don't know. Then if I'm buying like 480,000, sometimes do I buy a high floor or low floor, which is really up to availability. That rate will be the judgment call of which unit should I go, because people won't pay higher rent just because it's higher. And then you can also go micro into studio, go how much, 2 bedroom go how much, 3 bedroom go how much, because sometimes not necessarily big then win. Okay, sometimes studio has the highest ROI, but we don't know. And what are the competition like around? So will people be concerned of the lake, the pylons in your face, and things like that? By doing this site visit, then you will have a very good picture of what's gonna happen if you were to buy this unit. One more thing, like if you go downstairs, right, there's a strip of retails, and it's important to know, is the developer holding it or is it up for sales to individual owners? This plays a very big role, because if bigger developers, right, that has their retail arm, they will somewhat manage and put in the anchor tenants first. It would be a big difference if Jaya Grocer was here, right? Or Aeon Market was here. Only the developers has the ability to pull such a move to drive the initial community. If not, right, it's really up to market dynamics, and that takes a longer time. Hence, I would prefer, if I were to buy a mixed development, the retail space, at least half must be held by the developer, then half can be sold for their cash flow purposes lah. If not, it's all open up for free market, it's going to be very, very risky. So you will have most likely the mama, the barber stores, the dobies that open up first. Then only you kind of have the tuition centers, beauty salons and things like that. And again, this is driven by market dynamics. Indirectly also luck lah. We have covered site condition, covered common areas, security as well. Like I came in just now, no one cared. Then if you go to the lift, right, there's no contractor lift. So if I were to move in early, then like, you know. So I think that's all for now. Let's go check out the unit. Okay, so we are in a unit right now. This will be an own stay unit lah. And immediately you can feel that it feels very warm, and mainly because of the timber flooring. Originally, I guess it will be floor tiles. Then coming into the unit, kitchen tuck at the corner, and you have the living and dining in front of your balcony already. From the living room, you have a study room. But if it's an investment unit, this will be a bedroom. Then you have a common shared bathroom, you have the principal bedroom, the second bedroom. Wow, so you have 3 bedrooms. Wow. Okay. Then this is the principal bathroom. So the main thing, if I were to buy as a home, the number of rooms matters a lot lah. Because if I'm planning for 1 kid or 2 children in the family, then 3 bedroom is the minimum, right? While waiting for that, then maybe I just change a room to a study room first or my YouTube studio. So these kind of things needs to be discussed with your other half while buying. But when you reach the unit, okay, things to look out for is a degree of furnishings. Do the developer provide aircon points, water heater, kitchen, the mirror in your toilet, and etc. So those are the things that you need to clarify with the salesperson. Number 2 is you need to look out for corners. That can be the turning point. For example, like this is a very good column where it's really sitting in between spaces and you don't really notice it lah. This is a unit by my fellow colleagues. So this is by Easy Home. I'm from the Makeover Guys team, so we only do properties that are meant for investment. Easy Home are for properties which is meant for own stay. The main difference are in the process. The end outcome looks pretty similar as you can see, but the participation level that you would require if it's your own house, right, will be very high. So things like laminated timber flooring, this kind of TV console, things like this, will tenants pay more money for this? Not really. Plaster ceiling? Not really. But if it's for own stay, it doesn't matter. It's your home. So a unit like this costs around 44,000 and they complete it within like 30 to 40 days lah. But a caveat to that would be the kitchen. The owner here actually engaged a separate kitchen contractor altogether because he has his own preference and things like that. If it's your home, if you're under budget, right, very tight budget, you could do it yourself. Which means you engage all the contractors separately yourself, you buy everything yourself, either from Taobao, from Lazada or whatsoever. So that's the cheapest way in terms of cost, but it involves a lot of time and effort to do it. So if you are a person who likes to do it yourself, then very good lah. If you are time poor, you are stuck in a corporate office the entire day, then it's pretty challenging because the receiving part of things. Hey bro, my fridge coming, then you go and take leave, go there, no one. Oh, my driver lost, so tomorrow lah, tomorrow you take leave again. If you were to engage separate parties, like for example, the main contractor that do floor, then after he jiao, then only the kitchen floor come and do, then after he jiao, then only the toilet floor come and do. But this kind of thing, sometimes it requires 3 different renovation permits. So the numbers of renovation permits also you need to clarify with the management. Is it 1 permit for all or 1 permit per contractor? And sometimes like we came across certifications that are required in order to do lighting installation. Meaning like the subcontractors needs to be qualified in terms of a professional piece of paper before they can come to your unit and install the lightings. That will check up the price and check up the time required and things like that. If you have a lot of money to spend, you can always get an interior designer where they will ask your preference, minimalist, Scandinavian, whatsoever lah. So they will design whatever you like until you sign out the piece of paper, then only they start building. This is when you have a lot of time, you can just enjoy the process. And that's a very important budget to be calculated during your home purchase. A lot of people will sailang, they will just put everything in for the house deposit, but to get the house furnished, right, is a huge chunk of cost, and most often the time is cash. If you're doing it on yourself or you order from Lazada and all, you can still leverage on the credit card facilities. So I guess that's about it for this episode. So I wanted to do this pretty quickly and we do it in an actual unit itself. So what we briefed on is in between new properties and sub-sales properties, there's this thing in between right now in this period of time called the completed unsold. So those are launched 3-4 years ago during the oversupply stage. Now it's completed and there's remaining units to be sold. So the developers will have a very high tendency to sell this out quickly because these are being financed by the bank already. So once they can push this out to the market, or whatever money they collect is all cash and profit to them. And this gives a lot of benefit to the buyer where I get all the certainty I need for a sub-sale, but I still buy in accordance to the developer's new property package. Next would be the difference between buying an investment unit versus a own stay unit. So that intention really dictates whatever you should do to the house. I like plaster ceiling, fancy lighting, so if it's an own stay, I can afford it, go ahead. If it's for investment unit, what for? If it's an investment unit, I will always think that what would the tenant require? A study room like this, will the tenant pay more for this? No, I rather turn it into a bedroom and sell it as a 3-bedroom unit. Again, in this kind of site, I can dictate what kind of traffic is around, what kind of occupancy is ongoing. Maybe I come at night and look at the lights and the actual experience to the nearest LRT or the park or the bus station. Last of all, run the weekday test. Come here during the weekends and travel to the park and drive around because it needs to be convenient for you. Then on a weekday, maybe you take half a day leave or you come here way earlier, tell your boss that you'll be late for a while. I'm testing out the distance. You will never know that maybe there's a kampong or there's a construction site that's very active every day for the next 4 years. Habis, right? That's about it. Certainty plays a very big role in investment and you can curb that risk by having units like this to really see what you will get. If you really like this video, like it, share it, and even subscribe for more information like this. Until next time, this is Shantan. Ciao.